There are two types of text in After Effects, point text and paragraph text. Point text is used for a single word or line of characters. Paragraph text is used when you want to enter longer sections of text that are or resemble paragraphs. Text can be added to your compositions using text layers. It can be directly added and edited in the Composition panel, then formatted using several tools available in the Tools, Character, and Paragraph panels. In this lesson, you'll learn how to create point text and paragraph text, format text in paragraphs, animate text using animation presets, work with keyframes to create motion blurs, create scale keyframes, animate text opacity, and add a motion path to text as well as to a non-text layer. Before we start to discuss how to create and edit point text, let's switch from the standard to the text workspace. Note that the panels we mentioned earlier in this lesson are featured on the right side of the window. You'll use these panels in this lesson to format text. Go to the Tools panel, which is located below the menu bar. Click on the horizontal Type tool. Now click anywhere in the Composition panel and start typing. We're going to type flowers. You can see the text we entered by clicking on our composition in the Composition panel. You can also look at the Timeline panel and the new text layer that has been added. You'll find the formatting tools you need for text in the Character panel. You can format all the text in a text layer by using this panel. However, if you only want to format certain parts of characters or text in a text layer, you must select the text or characters first. If you don't select text or characters, the formatting changes will be applied to all of the text in the current text layer, as well as the source text keyframes. Practice formatting text using the Character panel. Start out by clicking on the text layer in the Timeline panel to select it. Let's change the font size and color. Now that we've changed the size of the font and the color, let's change the font type. I also want to move this over a little bit so it's not interfering with the flower in the image. So to do that, we need to choose the Selection tool and then simply click and drag it where we want it. To create paragraph text, click on the horizontal text tool again. Next, go to the Composition panel. Drag your mouse in the panel to create a text box. Click inside the text box, then enter your paragraph. You can now use the Character panel to format the text. We're going to change the font type and size. Use the Paragraph panel to format your paragraph. As you can see, we aligned our paragraph to the left. If you want to move the text layer, remember to go to the Timeline panel and select the layer. You can also use rulers, guides, and grids to help you place your text. Next, go to View, Show Grid. Then go to View, Snap to Grid. Click on the Selection tool in the Tool panel. Drag the text to the position where you want it. To hide the grid, go to View, Show Grid. If you want, you can also drag on the handles of the text box to resize it. The handles are located on all four corners, as well as all four sides. Mouse over a handle until you see a two-way arrow. Then drag in to decrease or drag out to increase. Using an animation preset is the easiest way to add animation to text. An animation preset simply has to be applied to the text. It's easy to do. To learn how to animate text using a text animation preset, we're going to go to the Timeline panel and select the first text layer we created. This layer is called Flowers. Once you've selected your text layer, move the playhead to the beginning in the Timeline panel. Next, go to Animation, Browse Presets. Adobe Bridge will open. You must have Adobe Bridge installed for this to work. Double-click on the text folder, and you'll then see folders that represent different text animation presets. We're going to choose Blurs. Click on a blur to preview it. Let's choose Foggy. If you look at the preview panel on the right, you can see the animation. When you find the blur you want to apply, right-click on the thumbnail of the blur and then choose Place in After Effects CC from the context menu. The blur is then applied to the layer. Remember that you can hit the spacebar to preview the effect. Now it's time to customize the preset so it looks exactly the way that you want. To start, make sure the layer is selected and then press U on the keyboard. This will show you all the layer's animated properties. Take a look at the Offset property. This specifies how much to offset the start and end of the selection. Click the word Offset. This selects both of the animation's keyframes. A keyframe marks the beginning or end of an animation. The keyframes are the yellow diamonds in the timeline. Now go to Animation Keyframe Assistant and choose what changes you would like to make. If you choose Time Reverse Keyframes, for example, it will switch the order of the keyframes. Scaling text is done by using the Scale property. With the layer selected, press S. This will reveal the Scale property. Move the playhead in the timeline panel to the place where you want to place the keyframe. Now click on the stopwatch icon to the left of Scale to add the keyframe. Change the value to 0. Next, move the playhead forward to another location where you want to add the second keyframe. We're going to change the value to 100. This way the text will grow from nothing to its normal size. To preview the animation, move the playhead to the beginning, then hit the spacebar. The end of the animation might seem abrupt when you preview it. To fix this problem, you can use Easy Ease. Right-click on the first scale keyframe and select Keyframe Assistant, Easy Ease Out, or Easy Ease In. Let's say we want to apply the same scale animation to another layer in our composition. We could create the scale animation for this other layer, or we can save time by creating parent and child layers. Using our example from the last lesson, our paragraph text layer is the one with the scale animation applied. We now want to apply the same animation to the JPEG layer. This will give us the feeling that the camera is zooming in. Before we get started, let's select the JPEG layer. In the Parent column, select the Paragraph text layer from the drop-down menu. This makes the Paragraph text layer the parent layer, and the JPEG layer the child layer. The child layer inherits all of the parent layer's keyframes, meaning both now share the scale animation. We used presets earlier in this lesson to create a blur animation effect. Now let's animate text along a motion path using a preset. When you use a path animation preset in After Effects, the preset comes complete with placeholder text. This means that when you use a path animation preset, you don't have to enter or format the text until after you apply the animation. To apply a path animation preset, first deselect all layers in the timeline. Move the playhead to the point where you want the text to first appear. Then go to Animation, Browse Presets. This will again open Adobe Bridge. Open the text folder as we did earlier, then open the Paths folder. We're going to right-click on the Paperclip preset, then select Place in After Effects CC from the context menu. The path animation now appears in our composition. To change the text, click on the horizontal type tool in the Tools panel. Then click in the placeholder text in the Composition panel. Enter the text that you want to appear. You can edit the motion path by dragging on any of the handles. These handles look like dots and appear on the yellow line. Click in the Composition panel to hide the motion path or yellow line. Click on the spacebar to play the animation. We can also add a motion path to a non-text layer. To do this, click on the text layer with the motion path. Ours is called Flowers Motion. Click M to display the Mask Path property. Click on the Mask Path property and then go to Edit Copy. Now we're going to select the layer with our B. This layer is called B. If you're following along in After Effects as we progress through the course, select a layer for which you want to add the motion path. Press P on your keyboard to display its position properties. Click on the word Position and then go to Edit, Paste. The position keyframes from the source layer are then added to the destination layer. Now let's set its orientation by going to Layer, Transform, Auto Orient. You'll then see the Auto Orient dialog box. Select Orient Along Path and then click OK. Now click the spacebar to watch the bee move along our path. A motion blur is animation that blurs an object as it moves. To create a motion blur, go to the Timeline panel. Click the Motion Blur switch for the layer that you want to blur as it moves. Be sure to also click the Enable Motion Blur button so you can see the motion blur as it occurs in the Composition panel. Move your playhead to the beginning of the animation and then click the spacebar to play. When you animate tracking, you make words seem like they expand as they appear on the screen. To do this, select the text layer for which you want to animate tracking. Move the timeline playhead to the location where you want the animation to begin. Then go to Animation, Browse Presets. Adobe Bridge will open once more. Open the Text Presets folder and then open the Tracking folder. Choose an animation and then select Place in After Effects CC. Click the spacebar to play the animation. You can use keyframes to make text fade in or out on the screen. To do this, select a text layer. Click T on your keyboard to view the layer's opacity properties. Move the playhead to the point where you want to add your first keyframe. Click the stopwatch to add the first keyframe and change the opacity level to 0. Next, move the playhead to the point where you want to place the second keyframe. Set your opacity value. We're going to set ours to 100. This will make the text fade in from nothing. Press the spacebar to watch the text fade in. In this lesson, we've learned to apply presets to create animation by going to Animation, Browse Presets, and then opening the text folder. Take time to explore and experiment with the different text animation presets. Learn the types of animation each preset can add to your composition, so that when you begin work on your first project, you're familiar with the types of animation presets you can add to your project.